Islamic militants have killed thousands of people in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique. Over 600,000 have been displaced. In the town of Palma alone, around 50,000 people have been affected and are in need of urgent humanitarian assistance. Let's discuss this with Shelley Thakral from the World Food Programme, who is in Mozambique. Shelley, a very good morning to you. What is it that you are finding?
So it's interesting that we're still seeing people who are fleeing from Palma, and it's taken them some days. If you think about it, the attack now was 24th of March. Yesterday I was in Mueda with the team, and Mueda's probably about 1 to 2 hour by road in a car. We met families who'd recently arrived. One family, very young family with a 1-year-old, and they'd arrived with their sister-in-law, 2 brothers, and in a very makeshift shelter. But they talked about having escaped from the bush in Palma, having sort of basically laid low for about 3 days, and then by foot it had taken them about 4 to 5 days to reach Mueda. So if you can imagine, I think people are just, what we're hearing is that because people have just scattered in different directions, people are just moving to safety, by night, by foot, and with very little food and water.
Shelley, are they giving you a picture of what the situation is on the ground as far as the Islamic militants are concerned, how many there are, what's been happening?
So no indication, because these families would have left probably very soon after the attack. So they would have been in hiding, they would have just been moving with what little that they had, and many could have not been able to afford the car journey. I also met one gentleman in another camp in Montepuez several days back, where he'd had to actually leave his wife in Mueda because they could only afford one car journey. So everybody is. The picture is that they left because of gunshots and obviously the brutality that some had witnessed. No indication of numbers, but just a stark reality that when they left, they were absolutely terrified and just literally sort of fleeing, running for their lives.
So those lucky enough to make it to you, obviously getting food, getting some sort of sustenance, what about those in the bush? I mean, what chances of, I know you have no idea how many there are and what really the situation is, but how difficult is it going to be, if not impossible, to get food to them?
Do you know what's also happening is that there's an amazing hospitality of host communities, the people that are already living in some of these areas. So the families that we're meeting who are making this sort of rather perilous journey, either by boat or by road, on foot, they're also talking about how they've been given food from families along the way. So there is this spirit of caring amongst the community. And yes, we are getting immediate rations to the people. So at each position as they're moving, most likely south, but some are also moving to some of the islands as well, dotted along the coastline. So there are emergency rations which people are able to have access to as well.
How long can you sustain this for? What sort of numbers are you looking at? And what happens to those who've reached you, have got food and water? Where to from here?
So, we do need funding. We need $82 million to basically be able to provide food assistance until the end of the year. We've also earmarked in this particular attack since 24th of March that we need, $4 million for the 50,000 affected. So, we're really relying on the kindness and generosity of our donors. Well, once the people do arrive to safety, we work as multi-agencies, so they are provided safety, they are given shelter. There are most families stay for very little time in the temporary accommodation, and they do move into the homes of their family. Families have extended from six people household to something like 20 or 25. So they are registered, and then we make sure, as we have been doing since 2017, since the attacks began, that there is what we call general food distribution. So there's food given to families every 2 weeks, which is rice, lentils, oil, sardines, and water.
Shelley, very quickly, because we have run out of time, what is the mental state of many of the people that you see?
It's a very strong resilience in this community, and then perhaps it's just maybe because of what they have witnessed over the years. So there's a real sort of sense of strength, and you see children still, just finding what they can to sort of play, in the camps. Women and their partners and families are huddled around fires. So there is a sense of, that. We need to find strength. We need to move forward. We're not quite sure about what tomorrow might bring, but I think for a lot of them, they're very sort of grateful that for where they are today, that they have got shelter and some means to survive.
All right, Shelley Thakral, thank you for updating us on this humanitarian tragedy. Let's get the